Welcome back to the Eric Jr. podcast on this special Friday matinee edition. We are live in studio in West Philadelphia. I am your degenerate host, Jake Klein. I'm joined here by the one and only Mr. Christopher Lynch. Sir, how are you?
I'm great. Fantastic, even. In case you haven't known, Jake, it's Dallas week. And right now we are getting you ready for that big game on Monday night in Dallas. It's going to be a fun one.
There are a lot of podcasts that happen throughout the week, but the Friday pod, it hits a little different.
It does hit different.
You see the download come into the whatever app you use, whatever service,
Yep.
You see it pop up late Friday, and you say, "This is exactly what I needed." So we hope you have a cold drink and you're ready to talk about how those cowgirls are going to get their pants beat off them come Monday night.
Yes. Not the only thing in store we have, of course. The Phillies have gone on a crazy run after crazy run of disappointing, results. Now they're winning again. So we'll keep you up to date on their chase for the playoffs, of course, and the ever-going Ben Simmons situation. We'll dissect that as well. So, Jake, why don't you get us started?
Yeah, just a jam-packed week. So we'll jump in with just a quick acknowledgement of the Eagles' Week 2 loss to the San Francisco 49ers. And we're not going to dwell on this. I think the best way to put it is that the Eagles lost the game more so than the 49ers won.
I agree. Yeah, it was a game that I thought the Eagles could win, but their kind of inexperience came through, and that's to be expected, right? Like there's going to be some bumps. Rookie head coach, a quarterback who's not very experienced. The team itself is not super experienced, so I think we can expect these kind of bumps along the road.
It's the type of loss where, if our general attitude about the team was a lot lower and morale was a lot lower, we would say, oh, this is par for the course this year. We're going to have a lot of games like this. Unfortunately, we had a really great week 1, and now expectations are higher than they were going into the season. So a loss like that hurts double, because then you would be 2-0 going for a chance to put a real stranglehold on the division this week, with some real, positive and tangible goals being set.
No, for sure. I think that the reason it was so disappointing as well is because the offense was able to move the ball. It wasn't just that we couldn't score, because last year we couldn't score. But last year we couldn't move the ball. We couldn't do anything. There was no functionality to the offense. This year, we've seen Jalen Hurts and those boys. They've been able to get up and down. They've been able to put together drives. And the fact that you had 2 on Sunday just end short without being able to get any points, 2 monster drives, that's what really leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Absolutely. We are going to leave that behind.
Yes.
There are plenty of things we could talk about, but we are going to move on to Dallas week, all right?
I agree.
So, Monday Night Football, nationally televised. Yes, we are going to have the special Manning brother broadcast if you're interested. Now, personally, I've only caught, a couple minutes of the first 2 weeks, but I've heard that it's been pretty good. I've heard that Eli's deadpan sense of humor has been good. He's kind of been letting Peyton take the reins. But you got to think, Cowboys, Eagles, this is going to be Eli's time to shine, buddy. This is his game,
This is going to be, he's going to play to his strengths. He's played against a lot of these players. He knows these teams inside and out. Obviously, they're a little, newer over the last couple years, but still, he has tremendous emotional ties to both of these teams. If you're into that, I'd definitely be excited listening to that alternative broadcast.
Probably going to be something I record, because I think that they have the guests and stuff. You got to be locked in when it's the Birds. Every other team, regular teams,
I'm not,
sure.
When I watch the Eagles, I'll be honest, not in the mood to laugh. No, not in the mood to smile. No. I have laser focused. I am like, all right, 2nd and 7. Let's fucking get into it. Let break down the game for me. And I know they do that a little bit, but I'm definitely one. When I'm watching the Eagles, I'm going to watch in the regular broadcast. I like the alternative broadcast for when you're being a neutral, when you don't really care about either team. I think that's really where it shines.
It goes without saying that, during Eagles games, I resemble a glass case of emotion that is capable of being shattered for any, 4th down conversion that does not go our way or turnover that doesn't. So, speaking of glass case of emotion, let's go ahead and talk about some of those injuries that have fallen on these Eagles after a week 1 of a perfect bill of health.
Yes.
And we said, this year's different, guys. Yeah. This year, it's not going to be the same narrative. Sirianni, nobody gets injured during the preseason or during the, off-season workouts. We're good. And here we go. We've got some really big hitters. The first and foremost, got to talk about Brandon Graham, the literal heart and soul
legend
of this team, who is responsible for the most important play in Eagles history.
Correct.
Once I heard that he had torn his Achilles, obviously he's out for the year. It did send me spiraling a bit. I did go and watch the fumble immediately.
You got to pay homage.
Had to pay homage, and then I immediately found myself with the YouTube algorithm just diving deeper and deeper. I then saw the Keanu Neal off-the-knee catch to Torrey Smith against the Falcons in the playoff game in the divisional. And then, of course, since it's Dallas week, then I had to dive deep and shout out to the 2018 kickoff in Dallas, where the Eagles get the clear fumble. Malcolm Jenkins with the ski mask on the sideline. Obviously I've been more excited, but to have the turnover on the kickoff, where how I feel about deferring. They're going to get the ball back in the second half, and they cause a fumble on the kickoff, only for the refs to say there's not a clear recovery.
Oh, man.
One of the most egregious NFL blunders of just
massive
inexplicable rule following that makes no sense. But here we are with Dallas week, and Brandon Graham not being here. That's just a huge blow.
Yes.
Both because of the personnel. Now, Josh Sweat, who just got paid. It's time to ramp him up, even though they're a little reticent to do that because of his injury history.
Yep.
You got Derek Barnett, who's a little bit of a loose cannon, had a really boneheaded play last week. You got to move forward. He's made a pattern of it at this point. You know what he is. Ryan Kerrigan. So that's
why you bring him in.
From the player personnel standpoint, you have the bodies, but just from a morale and, Fletcher Cox talked about it a little bit, that he's played with him for 6 years at this point, and just what he brings to the field and the way he talks on the field and the way he galvanizes his teammates. That's going to be sorely missed. So let's get just a quick hitter on how you feel about the loss of Brandon Graham, and then maybe talk about some of those other injuries we lost.
Yeah, it's absolutely massive. You don't need me to tell you that. Not only is he one of our best defensive end, he's kind of the only legitimate option we have. Josh Sweat has had a ton of potential, and in fits and spurts, he's been good. Haven't seen him do it consistently. Haven't seen him take over a game in the way that Brandon Graham has in the past. And then Derek Barnett, we all know that he's super inconsistent, super you don't know what you get from him on a day-to-day basis. Hopefully Ryan Kerrigan can come in and provide some experience that we're missing with Brandon Graham. That's why you bring him in. That's why we all like that signing. But it was a group that I think lacked top-end talent to begin with. And when you lose your best pass rusher, that's never a good thing.
So we got to pick up the slack on the other side of the ball.
Yep.
Brandon Brooks goes out with that pectoral strain, I believe, right?
Yeah. He's going to land himself on IR for a few weeks.
They're saying it's 6 to 8 with something like that. A guy who's older like that, you just don't know.
Yeah.
But much to the chagrin of some people who really disagreed with taking Landon Dickerson in the second round,
he's going to get a chance here.
Here you have the exact reason, hypothetically, why you maybe reach a little bit or take a position that was not as glaring a need on the offensive line in the second round, as opposed to another position, because here we are in week 2 already, and with Brandon Brooks going out, if you were going to be relying on Matt Pryor's not here anymore, who would it be? Brett Toth or
Nate Herbig?
Nate Herbig, that's right. So Landon Dickerson, for him to be able to slide in there, the timing, you got to say it's a little uncanny. But at the same time, you're going to need him. He didn't have a great game against the 49ers, but that's a really good defensive line they're going against.
And we should say the Dallas defensive line, not nearly in the same class, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. They're missing also their best pass rusher, and the rest of that group is nowhere near as special as anybody on the 49ers. That's an elite group.
Seems like known scumbag Randy Gregory will be playing. Yes. So we'll be on the lookout for any dirty plays from him.
Yes.
Him and Derek Barnett, man, between the two of them, there's going to be so many times where the fan bases on both sides are just going to be like, why do we even still have this guy?
Erases a big play on the defense. Yeah. extends a drive. You know it. You know that's going to happen.
No question. But Dickerson's going to be huge, man, moving forward. You know,
he has to step in. He has, a little earlier than I think everybody would have liked. We would have liked to see him get a little more time. Behind a guy like Brandon Brooks, who's been, when he's played, been stellar, just completely, untouchable.
Every metric,
yeah,
just bores that out. You know.
So that's a huge loss. You hope the rookie can come in and step in and. He doesn't have to be a star, but fill a spot on that line, and you got some veterans, around you
to flank
lean on those, and then hopefully they can get by with it.
Now, initially we thought, okay, one big injury on both sides of the ball.
That's not great.
We can get through it. It is what it is. It's football. Unfortunately, today we have learned of another injury that is a bit of a gut punch, just because this guy has been so stellar.
Yeah.
And Kareem, can you tell us a little bit about it? Because you actually just told me right before we started to record, because I was completely oblivious.
Yeah. So we're going to lose Jordan Mailata for the Dallas game, which is a gut punch, like you said. Not only because he's the left tackle, but he's been such a great story, such a morale boost to the fan base to see a guy like this, succeed. 7th round pick, didn't play those narratives, they matter to the fan base and to the team. They help the culture, and to lose him like that is really tough. And now we're gonna see former 1st round pick. He's got to come in and he's got to play well. Let's show the talent that he showed in college.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Is it so? He's dealing with a knee sprain. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, and most likely, you would think he'd be back the following week. It's a regular Sunday 1:00 game the next week.
It's been said that it's not supposed to be a long-term injury, but it's football. You never know. Until then, you have a 1st round pick, Andre Dillard, on the roster. You hope that he's good to go. You hope that he can just be serviceable, right? He got beat out in camp, but that doesn't look as bad when you realize how great, Mailata was playing in the regular season. That's not much of a, detractor when you realize he's been one of the highest graded tackles in football over the first 2 weeks.
Yep.
If Andre Dillard can just play, just same thing for Dickerson. Just come in, don't do anything crazy, don't get a ton holding penalties, false starts, just play a regular game and, see the game through.
Look, if Jason Kelce is there, you're going to have a chance. The way he communicates, the way he's going to flank you and get out in open space and make sure he knows exactly who needs to be blocked, you're going to have a chance regardless. But I'm not going to take any cheap shots at Andre Dillard.
Nope.
There's no way
we don't do that. We don't do that here.
There's no way I can say that my belief in him has never wavered, because unquestionably it has wavered to almost not existing. So we're going to see this week, man. They need to have this game. They've got a real gauntlet coming up with some of these teams that they're going to be going on a little skid coming up.
Yes.
So if they can get this, go to 2-1, then maybe they lose 2 in a row, 2-3. Okay, we're fine.
It is a massive game, not just because it's Dallas, not just because it's a divisional opponent, but because of the teams that you're coming up against. You don't want to get the season off to a bad foot. Especially
the trajectory for you to win that week 1 game. And yes, we all knew it was an irrational high. But then to come down really quick, I mean, that's not the type of drug we wanted. We wanted something that was going to bring us down a little bit smoother,
Yeah.
So, all right, we did a good job, summarizing the injuries and the implications. Talk a little bit about this matchup.
Yeah.
The big story coming out of week 2 was about the coaches. Both sides of the ball. I mean, Sirianni's play calling on the goal line, and also
not great.
Jonathan Gannon's rigidity with not being flexible and bringing pressure.
Right.
He stayed in zone, bend, don't break, and yet they marched down the field on 2 really long drives. I think it was 12 and 14 play drive. So it's really on them. That's what we should be watching this week. It is about the players, and they got to perform. Jalen Hurts threw 2 beautiful balls, one to Rager, who gets pushed out of bounds. Can't talk about it. It was too upsetting. And one to Quez Watkins. So, I mean, Jalen Hurts is doing the things, using his legs to keep you in the game at the end. This game is about the coaching. This game is about adjustments on the defensive side of the ball, sporadic blitzes and appropriate pressures at pivotal moments. And on the offensive side, putting your players in a position to succeed, knowing you don't have your premier offensive line fully intact.
Correct.
So that's where I'm looking coming into this game. Do you have specific matchups or things that you're on the lookout for that you say this is going to be the difference maker?
Okay, yeah. So just in hindsight, Week 2, I get the game plan for Jonathan Gannon. I get sitting back in zone, not pressuring. It's Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, it's not somebody who's going to carve you up like that. This is Dak Prescott, and with that set of receivers he's got, you can't sit back because he is going to carve you up. He's going to throw for 400 yards. Like, I think the game plan has to be pretty drastically different than what it was. Not saying it wasn't logical in the moment, but this is a different beast. You have to pressure Dak Prescott because if you don't, you're going to give up a ton of points. You got to stop the run. You got to stop Zeke, and you got to bring pressure. There's really only one way to do that, and it's blitz. Like, that's just going to be that's going to have to be a steady diet because Dak's too talented. We've seen in the first 2 weeks, he's pretty back from this injury. He's still a good quarterback. And with the weapons that he's got, it's not fair. So you got to be able to do it.
Yeah, and the thing is, the Dak discourse runs deep. You know, all the conversations about Carson and Dak. Look, I'm not going to get into that. It runs deep, okay? And there is this belief that he just rises to the occasion every time against the Eagles, and that's just not the truth. Yeah, he's won more games than not, but there's also been the 6-0 game that meant nothing to us at the end of the season for the Super Bowl run. There's a lot of context to be applied, but the key is with Dak, unlike like Jimmy. He's so cerebral that on those third and mediums, he's going to know exactly what he needs to do to get the first down. The key point is, though, with the lingering shoulder injury, that mobility it's not as free-flowing, I would say. We're in the past, if you don't have that linebacker who's just your QB spy, he's going to carve you up. Just not even for like a lot of yardage, but like 37 rushing yards, and each one of those yards is just pivotal to moving the chains and sustaining those drives and breaking our backs over and over again. You've got really the only thing that you could highlight on the Cowboys is their linebacking core. It's the only thing that they believed in. They believe, unlike the Eagles, if you have good linebackers, then you have a good defense.
And I think Howie Roseman would say that they are proving him right.
That's hogwash. That linebackers don't mean nothing. That's what you're trying to say. You're trying to be polite about it.
I think if you asked Howie Roseman in a moment of truth, he would say, if you really value the linebacker core, look at the Dallas Cowboys defense over the last 3 years, and you will realize that maybe linebackers aren't the most important part of the
dude, like Van Der Esch's been injury prone, but when he's out there, he's fucking great. Micah Parsons looks like he's going to be great. Now, granted, they had to take him because we went ahead and swindled the Giants, and then the Cowboys are like, we'll take Parsons. It looks fine. It's great.
Yeah.
So, very interesting to look at the completely contradictory beliefs regarding the defense.
Yes. And that'll be a fast – and they are good. You do have to game plan around that. You do have to take that into account. They have super athletic linebackers that get all the way across the field in a moment's notice. You can't have any of these sweeping run plays. Like, they're not slow developing plays. They're not going to be as effective. And we've seen the first 2 weeks, screen plays were a big part of the offense, especially in week 1. That's probably, you got to take a few of those out, It's kind of a tale of two cities with Sirianni's play calling the first 2 weeks. Screen plays, short passing plays the first week.
Getting Jalen Hurts in a rhythm.
Yep. And then the second week, we saw a lot of deep passes. Maybe there's probably a balance there that he's going to have to find because I think, both, first week, obviously great. And he's had success on the deep throws. Not saying he can't make them.
He's had the touch on them.
He's had great touch. But there's probably a balance that they have to find there, and that's on Sirianni.
Right. The spectrum of that play calling, you're absolutely right. That has been the story of these 2 games. What I would also say is maybe the remedy for that, it is going to reside in the middle of the field, where you did not see them really attack at all in week 2, and you've got, hopefully, Zach Ertz, cross your fingers, and Dallas Goedert, 2 really solid tight ends that have not really been utilized to their degree that they can be effective, and knowing that Dallas is prepared for that, then how else do you account for that? I think the best of both worlds is you get Jalen Hurts in a rhythm through some quick stuff, hopefully establish a run game, and then you say, look, we got to get the tight ends involved as well, but you just got to be situational. You got to pick and choose your spots like you always do. This is a really big game. Nick Sirianni going up against Dan Quinn's defense, very vanilla defense. I wouldn't be scared by their secondary, really.
Yeah.
And they just got to be in attack mode because Dallas' offense is going to put up points. Like we just said, you need to blend the medium, and you're going to have to take your shots downfield, first and second down. Let's go for 7. But don't necessarily be running the ball on 3rd and 7 when you have to get that conversion. Don't necessarily eliminate half the field like you did on some of those goal line plays where it's Jalen Hurts, and if Zach Ertz is covered, he's got nowhere to go.
Right.
So that's really where I'm looking. It is a huge Nick Sirianni game, even though it shouldn't be. It's his 3rd week, but it's him on a bounce back where everybody has said really a lot of that loss is on him. Yeah. So it's on him to respond, especially when the guy is pandering to a degree.
So hard.
That's hard. Listen,
so hard, man.
Some beat writers and professionals, some capital J journalists, they've kind of, tiptoed around this. We have the ability to really say it. Look, man, I get it. I like to get my students to buy in, intrinsic motivation, all that, get them to respect you. But talking about your press conference and then the beat Dallas shirts and the Phillies memorabilia.
You gotta back it up. You gotta back it up.
Like, I get it. It's great when you're winning, but that just if you lose, and when you lose in the fashion that you lost in week 2, it just gets compounded. But here's the thing: they say it's authentic. They say it's a part of his personality. Like, you want him to be him. It's like, sure, man, but it's gonna be hard to be him when you're 1-5 and you're still rocking. Hey, Phillies, man, they just got in those playoffs, dude. How about that? And you're like, Nick, focus on the fucking job, man. Listen. This is a big week for him. I'm excited. It's prime time.
Yes.
We got to get some bold predictions in here.
Of course.
So I've got some categories for you. I'll throw it to you. Just let me know what you think.
Okay.
Now, we talk running game, right? And everybody just loves.
We love to talk. In Philly, we love to talk.
They love. You know what they love to do in Dallas? They love to talk about Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott. All they can talk about. They used to have a great offensive line. Now they got nothing. Is it Leo Collins suspended? Yes. They got nothing. Okay. Everybody wants to talk about them. What about us? Yep. What about Kenneth Gainwell? Not being used as a wide receiver, albeit that's what he was, coming out of college. It's like, this guy can line up at the X. This guy can catch balls.
Yeah.
But his production has been surprising.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about Eagles' run game with a non-fully intact offensive line and how that's going to factor into this game.
Well, I think it's going to be a pretty defining feature of the game plan is getting the running backs involved because we've seen Miles Sanders, when he gets involved, when he gets those touches, he's been super effective. And you just mentioned Kenneth Gainwell being sprinkled in as a secondary back, change of pace. He's been super effective in small doses. I think it's going to be a massive feature of the offense. I think you're going to want to avoid, those linebackers a little bit and focus on the run game, focus on those quick passes out of the backfield. If you're asking me to choose Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell versus Tony Pollard and Zeke, I don't know. That's a bit of a toss-up. You probably have to give it to Zeke and Pollard, but there's no reason why they can't put up 75, 80, 90 rushing yards in this game. The Dallas defense, the defensive front four is not something to be afraid of. You should be able to get those 3-4 yards before you meet those linebackers. So that's going to be something I think pretty early on we focus on getting the run game established. I know we talk about it every damn day, but this is going to be a game where I think it's important because you're not going to want to have Dak. You don't want to have Jalen Hurts in a shootout with Dak Prescott. That's probably not a recipe for success.
Yeah, especially when you look at the run game and saying this is how we can put together those longer drives.
Yes.
And even if they're resulting in 3, a 6-minute drive where there's 3 points on the board
still has value.
Keeping the offense for Dallas off the field is going to prove to be immense in this game in particular because when they get rolling, and if Amari Cooper's going to be out there, no Michael Gallup, but they're still going to be able to put up a lot of points. And, I talk about the run game just because, again, we talked about Nick Sirianni going short passes and getting the ball in space and having those players make plays and then going all the way deep in week 2. And now you need to find the happy medium with the run game as well. You want to establish it, but you don't want to use it as that crutch where you're playing conservative in the second half because you're saying, we can churn out these running plays. Can I make a bold prediction? Can we get some type of sound effect here? Can I get a fire alarm to go off? There we go. Now, you know who we have not heard from this year in the running back group for this Philadelphia Eagles team?
That would be one Boston Scott.
Boston Scott. maybe this is a game where you see a little bit from him, man. I don't know. I'm a sensationalist at times.
Yeah.
Boston Scott, change of pace, because it seems like, and this has been surprising, when Kenneth Gainwell is coming to the games, you would think there's going to be some chicanery, there's going to be some passing involved, but he's been a straight runner.
Right.
Where if you bring in some 2 running back sets and Boston Scott's out there, it does, because he can do both, not a great runner because he's so small, but like he can be a good pass catcher. Screen game is in the realm of possibility there. I just think Boston Scott, I don't know, you need something. You need, just like Jonathan Gannon didn't bring any pressure last week when the 49ers were going on the run, you need to throw some type of X factor into the calculus for the opposing side. And that's my hot take. Again, sensationalist, crazy guy.
I've been surprised about how little Boston Scott has played. I think that speaks to the talent of the other running backs that we have and how much this coaching staff likes Gainwell. But I do think Boston Scott has, something to offer to the Eagles offense. I think he can be a functioning member. We've seen it. We've seen him be very productive. I'm curious to see if and when he'll be worked into the Eagles offense. And if it won't be this week, maybe.
Right. To be fair, maybe they're saving him for the Giants games.
That's
because
true.
As we know,
that might be it.
Boston Scott against the Giants, he is a giant killer.
He's unbelievable.
Capital K.
If you have an option between picking Barry Sanders or Boston Scott versus the Giants, you pick Boston Scott.
No question. No question. I mean, that's objectively what you do. Yeah. True, all right, so we spent a good time on the run game there. Next question. Something that the Eagles have, what was that? 0 of. That would be turnovers.
Yes.
Okay? All that we heard from Jonathan Gannon, this guy's going to be a head coach. Yep. This guy's got all the stuff. This guy. 0 turnovers. Yeah, they've got QB hurries. Yeah, they've got close to turnovers. Yeah, the BS call on Kayvon Wallace for not getting that fumble because he lowered his head. It's it's a bang play. Who wins the turnover battle this week? And do the Eagles get their first defensive turnover?
Man, I really hope so. I really hope we get a turnover. Like, that's the one thing I'm like, if you're not, as a defense, turning the ball over, you're not a very good defense. Like, you're not. Like, you're giving up these long drives, and you have to offset that some way, somehow. We don't have an elite pass rusher. We don't have, like, some lockdown corner. I know,
Hey, you bite your tongue.
I'm sorry, but we don't have a great secondary either. Like, we have to turn the ball over, and it's been a problem for the last couple years. I really hope we get an interception, get a fumble, get something, because that's going to energize the offense even more, and that'll just make everybody's life easier. I think we will win the turnover battle. I think, Dak has been great. I think he has an interception or two in him. With how much they spread the ball around, it's not outside the realm of possibility. I'm going to go with 2-1 Eagles turnovers.
Okay. That's optimistic.
Yeah.
I would say that
quite.
The most likely source where that's going to come from, even with that huge Brandon Graham injury, is the defensive line. Yeah. I think it's getting to Dak and making him either think about running or getting out of the pocket too soon and maybe a chase down. The secondary, I just don't see it. And yes, you're fair to say Darius Slay is not this lockdown corner. But
nope.
Here's what I'm going to say, okay? Darius Slay's name does not ever get mentioned during the broadcast.
Don't mention him. Don't hear about him.
They don't go to him, man. They stay away from him. So there's this, similar to Fletcher Cox, where there's not these counting stats. Granted, before Darius Slay got here in Detroit, he was an interception machine, man. He was a turnover machine. They said, oh, this guy here, he's good for 5 interceptions a year.
Yep.
They just don't even. They're like, we're not going over there. Don't worry about the left side. Left side, strong side. Forget about it. We don't want anything to do with it. And that's where a guy like Steven Nelson comes in. It's a little bit of an under-discussed side of the defense where usually if you didn't have he's not great. He's a little small.
Sure.
He's a tough talker, though. And
don't we love that?
Don't we love that? Especially with a guy like Brandon Graham out. You need, seriously, on a football field, you need guys like, but that would be the one area on a defense that would get exploited. They would start the game attacking that secondary corner. If it was a mediocre Jaquette or a rookie Zach McPherson, if that was a guy out there instead of Steven Nelson, I think this entire season the complexion could look a lot different. Steven Nelson could be an unsung guy where you're not going to hear from Darius Slay having a tip ball or an interception because they're not going over there.
Right.
So if Steven Nelson can simply not get gashed, then that could be the difference of like, okay, he's holding his own. And maybe then you get lucky where Dak's feeling the pressure or the pocket is collapsing because of the defensive line, and then he gets an easy one because he knows he's not going to go to Slay's side, but he is going to put one up to Cooper, who's out there with his cracked ribs. Maybe he's not moving great, and Steven Nelson gets one. So 2-1 is your prediction. I'll go 1-1. I think each side gets one
interception and one fumble for me.
Okay, that would be splendid. That's the adjective I would use. That would be great. It would be great to feel.
There'll be a Zeke fumble too. Zeke's gonna put one on the ground.
Dude.
Yeah, he's gonna put one on the ground.
Here's the thing: people are pretty down on Zeke right now. Every time he goes against the Eagles, that guy. Like I watch him play against the Eagles, and I go, dude, why do they not talk about him every week? Because guys just fall off of him. I know we're poor tacklers in the past historically, but he falls forward for 3 yards. I've been watching him for however many years now to really appreciate that. And look, man, they took a running back really high. They take linebackers really high. Where's it gotten them? Nowhere.
I mean, that is like the biggest endorsement to Howie Roseman. Is what is happening in Dallas and the lack of success that they've had. Like that is the reason Howie Roseman still has his job, because he could just point to everything. The opposite of everything he's doing is what's going on in Dallas, and it's getting them nowhere. You're absolutely right.
You're on with that one, and we'll transition to the last bold prediction here, and then we got to go scores. Quick one here.
Yeah.
You saw one trick play last week. Philly special failed miserably. Nick.
Awful.
We get it. Your first home game. Like,
yes,
you get it. You're excited. Like, Greg Ward is out there for, like, the first. Look, I'm not going to get into it. Don't have the energy. Trick plays. Are we going to see any fake punts? Are we going to see any trick plays of anything that's noteworthy this week against Dallas?
I don't think so.
Either side.
I feel like Dallas is. When was the last time Dallas ran a trick play against us? They're just not that.
Mike McCarthy's the coach,
yeah,
man.
exactly. So I don't foresee any trick plays after how the last one went for Sirianni.
He's scarred for a little bit.
I think he's scarred for a little bit.
He better still keep going for it on fourth down, though.
Oh, no. Everybody is in favor.
We are steadfast in our commitment.
We want him to keep going for it on fourth down. But I think we realize, hey, we don't actually need a trick play to go for it on fourth down. We just run a regular play, right? We can just run just a normal, regular slant. Just like, that'll work. Or run up the middle, that'll work.
Especially when you're on the 2.5 yard line.
2.5 yard line. Yeah. So we want him to keep doing that. That's the good part. You don't need the trick play. So I don't think he's gonna run another trick play.
You're not gonna see it on either side.
We might see like a double reverse or something, but that's as much as we'll get.
That's good. That sounds about right. Both of these guys, because Nick is pretty scarred, and because Mike McCarthy on
literally
fourth and
doesn't even know. Yeah,
on fourth and inches is like, what? Go for it? What do you mean? Then they could get the ball right here. So totally agree with that answer. We need some overall scores. I'll go first. I'm going to throw it to you. Listen, everybody's saying this thing's going to be high scoring. I tend to agree. Give me 23-16. Birds. We're talking Devontae Smith, 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
We're talking Miles Sanders with one really big run and then being very quiet for the rest of the game. And we're talking Jalen Hurts not turning the ball over and the defense doing a really good job until the very end of the fourth quarter when things start to get a little tight. All right, give me what you got.
I think I'm going to go with Eagles 29 because we go for it. We go for 2 on one of the touchdowns, and Cowboys 24.
See, all right, so you're a little high scoring, but I think the scores are in that region.
Yes.
Both teams are putting up points.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the defenses are not in a good place right now. Both are banged up, so I think it's time for the offenses to kick into gear.
Awesome. I think that's really exhaustive talk. Last thing before we move off this, who has the better night? Eli or Peyton? Is it Eli's night, dude? All the talk's been about Peyton. He had the great SNL bit. He's been praised so much. Does Eli kind of shine to a degree that people are like, yo, Eli might be like funnier with the deadpan sense of sarcasm?
You could convince me that Eli's actually funnier, but I think Peyton is just too good at keeping the spotlight on him.
Yes.
Like, it's not even like whether he's funny or not, that doesn't factor into the equation. Like, he knows exactly how to get the eyeballs on him. He's been doing this for over a decade. Like, he knows what he's doing. It's always about Peyton. It's always about Peyton.
Always has been, like the meme. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, well, all right. I feel good. I'm a little nervous, but Monday night, man.
Right now, I'm more excited than nervous. We'll see how much that shifts over the weekend.
The Mailata injury is debilitating.
It's tough. But right now, I am more excited than nervous.
And Monday night, man. Hey, man, you can't. There's no way around it. But knowing that on Sunday you're really sad about the week coming up, but knowing that your team is not just playing, but playing against Dallas, like, come on, man.
Massive.
It's
stuff.
massive highs and even more debilitating lows. Yeah, the lows are just Grand Canyon Valley level, man. So
that's why we do it.
That's why we suit up every week and we join the team out there. And we get these microphones on. And
we get the headphones. We click them in. Yep, that's how we do it.
That's right. Now, I'll let you help us transition out of these birds. Okay. Listen, this is a Philadelphia sports podcast, not a Philadelphia Eagles podcast.
We do talk about other sports.
So, the Philadelphia Phillies are 2 games out of the NL East with 12 to play. They are the epitome of the just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Al Pacino, Godfather 3. I mean, they are literally, what this season has been? A roller coaster where the person running the roller coaster has been like, this machine could go at any moment.
They have no control over the machine at any point.
The people working there aren't even getting paid. They are volunteers. They're like, we're here for the entertainment factor.
We don't know how to work the equipment.
They say, listen, whoever owns this has put so much money in, but they didn't pay the last $5 million to fix the last thing, the bullpen, and we are here to just watch it explode or go up in a blaze of glory in the best possible way and just sneak into the playoffs. We haven't made the playoffs since 2011.
It's been a long time.
I need you to paint the picture. Tell us how we have to be treating these next 12 games. Okay?
Well, it's crazy, the Philadelphia season. I feel like for the past month, and I think if you look at the schedule, it bears out pretty true. We've either been on a 4-game winning streak or a 4-game losing streak for the entire last month. I think it's true if you look at the schedule. It feels true. It feels true at least. Right now we're 3 games on the bump. We got the Pirates tonight. The Pirates on 4-game series, man. I mean, last night I'm watching it. And obviously they go down 6-0, and that's tough. And at that point, I turn the TV off because baseball's a long game, and I don't have the kind of time to dedicate to everything. But yeah, I turn it off, and then I get a notification from my dad. Of course, it's gonna be about the Phillies. Like, he's texting me, this team, oh my god, yeah. I'm thinking he's complaining. I'm thinking, oh my god, they're giving up 9 runs. They're getting blown out by the Pirates. Yep. And then I turn it back on. I can't freaking believe it because the Phillies have just taken the lead, and it is now 7-6 or 8-6, and the playoff chase is back on. Like, just like that. It's been like that for the last month. And honestly, like, I'm just excited to see where it can go from here. Like, I know it's not particularly likely that we make the playoffs. I know we're technically 2 games back, but we're 3 games back. In reality, in the loss column, we're 3 games back. We have 3 more losses than the Braves. So it's going to be actually an uphill climb, but we got a soft schedule coming up, man. We got 3 more games against the Pirates. We got a series against Atlanta. And then we got a 3-game series in Miami against the Marlins to play spoilers. I'm like, these are just landmines. Like, it's a minefield out there. Like, just for disappointment and just for heartbreak. Like, how do you approach these games? Like, they're all must-wins, but I know there's going to be some heartbreak thrown in between,
That's exactly right. What I take issue with is soft schedule. When you say that the last 3 games of the year are at Miami
that's not
against
a soft
the Marlins,
schedule.
That is literally the worst possible place where we could have our last. This team, can you imagine? We're 1 game back going into those last 3.
Yeah.
We're going to get swept. I don't even have to watch the 10.
I'd rather play the 27 Yankees.
I would rather play
in Miami. With a team with nothing to play for?
Yes.
No, I'd rather play the 27 Yankees.
You know that we are, like you said, we are destined for heartbreak.
Yes.
You said you're excited. I am so invested in this team. I have tried to quit this team more times than I have tried to quit not liking myself. Okay, it's not going too great.
No.
Okay, this Philadelphia Phillies team needs to get into the playoffs this year. The wild card is a pipe dream now. Shout out St. Louis. Congrats, guys. You lost your football team, but your Cardinals are doing great. So good for you.
Yep.
This Philadelphia Phillies team, 3 times this month, they've come back from 6 runs down. What the fuck, man? Like, nothing tracks. Nothing is easy.
Nothing makes sense.
Makes any type of logical sense.
Nope.
The only thing that makes sense right now is the bet that I placed on Bryce Harper to win the MVP at the beginning of the year. We're looking for a pretty big payout. Tatis and the Padres have really just kind of gone all the way down. And listen, I'm very optimistic. I think that these past couple of games have been so ugly.
Yep.
But they managed to do what they needed to do.
They're getting big moments from players that you need to, right? Bryce Harper's been playing out of his mind. Obviously, all the MVP stuff, but these pitchers that come in and you expect them to give up like 8 runs and just like it's just a flip of a coin.
It's like 6 innings, 1 earned.
Yeah,
against these Pirates and Orioles pitchers. You're like, what the fuck is going on, dude?
I know. It's tough because you have guys like Aaron Nola right now who is just completely underperforming. And, Rhys Hoskins is hurt. So the guys that you thought you could lean on, the last couple of years that we've been thinking, like, hey, these are the guys that are going to get us there. They're either not there or not performing. So you're really left with, okay, you got Bryce, you got Segura, he's been great. And then you got, like, these guys that are just kind of pitching. Ranger Suarez has unexpectedly out of nowhere been
a
great.
Bright spot.
Yep. Your guy, Ronnie Torreyes, has been... Dude. Like, just big hit after big hit. Like, you look at his counting stats, and they're not great, and the average isn't great, but just, like, the moments...
The only guy other than Bryce to hit with runners in scoring position.
Yes, exactly. So, like, it is, like... It is crazy. I guess we should just... Let's get to predictions. We'll see. They got, like, a week and a half left. We'll see what happens. We just have to kind of watch. What's your expectation for this Pirate series, and then we'll move on.
So you come back from 6 runs down the first game.
Correct.
I think they come up small tonight. I think absolutely it's a big letdown.
They weren't ever in any universe going to sweep the Pirates.
Never.
That was never a realistic scenario.
Even if you believe in the parallel reality theory, in none of them do we sweep the Pirates. I think we split.
Correct.
I think we split against the Pirates. Get this.
That's tough.
I get this. Then we sweep the Braves.
No. Get out of here.
Listen, only to lose 2 of 3 to the Marlins in Miami and lose the division by not being able to take care of business in Miami. That's what tracks with what we've seen based off the data. We're in a data-driven world, okay? Based off the data, that is what's going to happen. We swept the Braves earlier this year. It just makes the most sense to me. So if you want to try to go off in fairy tale land and tell me that we win the division, go ahead, because now's your chance.
I mean, I feel like I am gonna be positive. I'm gonna be optimistic. I've been pretty down on this Phillies team all year. I've kind of like been half watching, half ignoring.
If I may interject, you've been emotionally unavailable.
Emotionally unavailable, that's correct. But like, just this late season run and Bryce Harper just going on this crazy tear, it does tug at my heartstrings a little bit. So I am going to be optimistic. I'm going to say they win 2 out of 3 of these next 3 games against the Pirates. They win 2 out of 3 against the Braves. And then it's going to be a toss-up. What happens in Miami? They're not going to win all of them. They're not going to win all those games. So, it depends on what happens. I think the Braves have a 4-game series against the Padres, who have been terrible the last month. And then they play us, and then they play the Mets, who will have nothing to play for. I would rather play the Mets with nothing to play for than the Marlins. I think that's definitely... Unquestionably, right? So, like, they definitely get off easy there. The Mets are a disaster. They've lost all hope, where the Marlins, I feel like they never had hope to begin with. So, like, they were
born in the darkness.
Raised
by it.
Exactly. So they kind of thrive in that situation. So we'll see what happens. I'm not gonna like.
Do they win the division?
I'm gonna say yeah, sure.
Why not, right?
Why not?
2021.
Yeah,
greener
why not?
pastures on the horizon.
Why not?
Wow. Optimistic, Mr. Lynch. I mean, that's not a look I'm really familiar with you.
Yeah,
rocking.
no, I'm enjoying it.
So, that's the EJP stance on the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, unfortunately, there is another sports team that has some news going on. And this is our...
Go ahead.
We have a new policy
yes.
regarding the Philadelphia 76ers main story right now.
Yes.
In regards to Simmons, Ben,
mm-hmm.
we have decided that it would be prudent in the goal of not wasting any time
mm-hmm.
that every week when we pod, when Ben Simmons is yet to be traded.
There's another story of him in and out, and he's out. He's always been out.
Right. He's not going to report, and he's fine with losing the money, and Rich Paul thinks that Tyrese Maxey's charities are fake. Whatever it is, okay? This is going to be what we do. Each of us will give a team that is not talked about as a Ben Simmons destination and make a 30-second case about why it could work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, congratulations. New segment. The BST, the Ben Simmons trade. Here we go.
Go ahead. Lead us off.
First team to lead off this segment. No one's talked about it. Doesn't really make sense. Give me the Detroit Pistons with future former Sixer.
Former future Sixer and former Sixer.
Former Sixer. Jeremy Grant. But also Mr. Josh Jackson, a guy who I always loved.
Former future Sixer, Josh Jackson.
And a recent guy who was drafted who I really did like coming out of the draft, Sadiq Bey.
Yes, he's great.
Some package involving, obviously you need the money to match. You probably need Corey Joseph to also come back in that deal to make the money work. A team like Detroit where you say they just got their number one pick.
Mm-hmm.
They need relevance. Ben Simmons is a guy that gives a floundering franchise relevance.
Agreed.
Because he's a regular season monster.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the type of team where Detroit would definitely embrace him, and they wouldn't push him to say, if you go to an organization like the Spurs, you do it the San Antonio way. And if Popovich is still there's a very strict, code that you have to carry yourself by every day. Mm-hmm. Detroit, he could show up, put up his 16-8-8, help, Cade look good, and it would kind of work. And for us, maybe we get a first, Sadiq Bey, who's a great 3-and-D guy, and then filler. They're not going to want to give up Jeremy Grant because they think he's great and everything. Anyway, Detroit, team that no one's talking about. I like some of their pieces. How about that? You got a team for me, Mr. Lynch, before we move off this?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Memphis Grizzlies. I think similar vein. I think we're looking at small market teams.
Yes.
Teams that can't attract free agents.
According to Rich Paul, they want to be anywhere but here.
Anywhere but here. Okay, well, you're going to Memphis. You're going to Memphis. You're gonna play second fiddle to Ja Morant. You're not getting back Ja Morant. You're not getting back Jaren Jackson Jr. But they have some draft pieces. They have some auxiliary guys, young guys that I think you can build something of a package around.
They also have Gen Z Kyle Lowry.
That's true.
Desmond Bane,
yeah.
Who is literally Gen Z Kyle Lowry. So I feel like you get him back. Forget about all the Kyle Lowry trade talk that we had last year.
So that's not something that I wouldn't love that. I don't feel good about it, but if it ends this, then I'll feel a little good about it. Yeah, if it ends it, if I can just move on with my life, I'd feel good about it. Yeah.
So, we'll continue with this.
We don't have a lot of heat.
Very short segment. Listen, I have been depleted.
Yeah, it's
any passion
much.
regarding
it's
this.
Much.
I have spent so much energy defending this guy and making the argument that he is worth all of the headaches and all of the drama.
Yeah.
And here we find ourselves 10 days away from the first preseason game.
Yep.
And Ben Simmons continues to be in the news and has dominated NBA podcasts for the past month over this stuff. And I have nothing left to give.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he gets dealt soon.
I think it's going to be a little bit of a wait.
And hopefully a James Harden situation 2 weeks into the season, some other team realizes they're either not going to be anything without a big move, or another team realizes they could be something with a big move, and they say we got to pull the trigger. If it takes an extra first, if it takes 2 extra swaps, whatever it is, you do it. And I just feel so dirty about the whole situation.
Nah, it doesn't feel
He's
good.
here for 4 years. You're not going to be able to. If the Sixers won it, I would not want to have anybody else in charge other than Daryl Morey right now.
Sure. He's as good as anybody in doing this sort of thing. He can find a place. He can extract value from somewhere. But it's it's ugly, it's messy, and we really don't want any part in it.
So you're gonna have to tune in next week to find out who the next two surprise teams are. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
But we just covered the three main teams. No Union, no Flyers talk, no Philadelphia Soul or Wings talk.
Nope.
We're avoiding all that. And I'll tell you what, I'm feeling pretty good about these Birds and these Phillies.
Yeah, it's Dallas week. You don't use your time of Dallas week to talk about
Much
the
else.
Flyers and the Union. You talk about Dallas week, and that's what we did today, and that's what I feel good about.
Okay.
Yep.
Last thing before we leave, you're feeling pretty good about the hiring of Kate Scott. Why don't you go ahead and just shout her out real quick?
Yeah, sure. I mean, somebody had to replace Mark Zumoff. You have to literally hire somebody to do the job.
Sure.
And they bring this Kate Smith in. She's had a lot of experience doing a lot of different kind of sports. She's done football. She's done hockey. She's done soccer. Like, she's done some basketball for Golden State. It would be the first full-time broadcaster for one of the four major Philadelphia sports teams who's female. That's honestly like a huge accomplishment for her. I'm so happy for her. I'm excited to see. I mean, obviously, like, it's not going to be the same without Zoo. Like, losing him is like losing a family member. Watching these games, he was amazing. But I do have excitement for her and this new chapter, the Philadelphia 76ers. Game watching experience. I'm excited. I want to give her my full support, and I look forward to her and Ala,
coexisting,
chumming it up.
I'll say this: listen, you do not bring Mark Zumoff to ring that bell unless it's the finals.
Yes.
Okay, he has earned that. There's like a group of 4 or 5 people that you even consider.
Yep.
Do not bring him in. I don't care if it's the first time we made the conference finals. You only bring him in to ring the bell if it's the
That's
finals.
a hard stance from Jake about the bell ringing. Yeah.
Shout out Mark Zumoff, dude.
Shout out to GOAT. Yeah.
We're coming in for a landing right now. We're about to sign off, and I'll tell you what. Go Birds. Go Phils. Let's do this thing. Let's get some real success and have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye.